So, what happens when a group of arrogant hotel staff members decide to mistreat someone due to their own biases? Sadly, in most cases, they get away with it. But in this particular case, they had no idea who they were messing with. Let's just say karma has a strange way of turning things around. It all started on a sunny Thursday afternoon. The lobby of the Grand Cascade Hotel was buzzing with activity. Guests checking in, staff hustling around, and the front desk phone ringing off the hook. Amidst all of this, there was a poised black woman named Regina Carter. Dressed casually in a flowy blouse and tailored slacks, Regina radiated quiet confidence. She wasn't carrying anything that would instantly reveal her status. Not a bit of flashy jewelry or a large entourage, just a small overnight bag casually slung over her shoulder. Regina had bought the Grand Cascade Hotel 6 months earlier. It had been her dream to own a piece of history and transform the struggling establishment into a model of hospitality and excellence. But instead of a big reveal or a press conference, Regina chose a quieter path. She wanted to see firsthand how the staff operated on a typical day before making any changes. So, that day, she planned to check in anonymously and get a sense of how things were running. When she approached the front desk, she was met with an icy stare from Emily, the receptionist. Emily, a young woman with perfectly manicured nails and a name tag slightly askew, gave Regina a once-over. With an indifferent tone, she asked, "Can I help you?" Regina offered a warm smile. "Yes, I have a reservation for tonight. Carter, Regina Carter." Emily frowned as she tapped away at the computer keyboard. After a few moments, she looked up, her eyebrows furrowing. "I don't see your name here. Are you sure you booked with us?" "Yes, I'm sure," Regina replied calmly, keeping her composure. "I received a confirmation email just this morning." She pulled out her phone to show Emily the email, but the receptionist barely glanced at it. "The system says there's no reservation under that name," Emily said flatly, crossing her arms. "Are you sure you didn't book at the Cascade Inn? That's a motel a few blocks down." A hush fell over the nearby guests, some of whom exchanged uncomfortable glances. Regina's expression didn't change. "I'm positive I didn't." "Booked here," Regina said firmly, her tone resolute. "Perhaps you could check again?" Emily sighed dramatically, clearly irritated. "Look, ma'am, I've already checked. There's no reservation under your name, and honestly, if you don't have one, there's nothing I can do. We're fully booked." Just then, a middle-aged man in a suit, the hotel manager Mr. Jenkins, approached the desk. Noticing the tension, he asked, "Is there a problem here?" Emily motioned toward Regina. "This woman claims she has a reservation, but it's not in the system. I was just explaining that we're fully booked." Regina shifted her attention to Mr. Jenkins, her smile still in place, though her patience was starting to wear thin. "I'm Regina Carter. I made a reservation here, and I have a confirmation email to prove it." Mr. Jenkins gave her a dismissive once-over. "I'm sorry, but if the reservation isn't in our system, there's nothing we can do. Perhaps you could try finding accommodations elsewhere." The condescension in his voice was unmistakable. Regina, undeterred, decided to take a different route. "Could you call your corporate office? They can verify my reservation." Emily rolled her eyes. "Ma'am, we're extremely busy. We can't waste time chasing down a mistake that's not ours." Before Regina could respond, a security guard appeared, likely called over by Emily. He stood tall, arms crossed, and asked, "Is there a problem here?" Regina raised an eyebrow. "No problem," she replied. "Just a misunderstanding about my reservation." The guard looked to Emily, who said, "She doesn't have a reservation and refuses to leave." "I never refused to leave," Regina corrected calmly. "I'm simply asking for clarification about my reservation." The guard's posture stiffened. "Ma'am, if you don't leave voluntarily, I'll have to escort you out." By now, other guests in the lobby were visibly uncomfortable, whispering amongst themselves, some even pulling out their phones to record what was happening. But Regina wasn't fazed. Instead, she pulled out her phone, opened her contacts, and made a call. "Hello, this is Regina Carter," she said into the phone. "I'm at the Grand Cascade Hotel, and I'm having a bit of an issue. Could you send over the regional director and the legal team? Thank you." She ended the call and looked at the staff. "I'll wait right here." The confidence in her voice left Emily and Mr. Jenkins unsettled, but neither of them dared to back down. Instead, they exchanged looks. Nervous glances were exchanged, and hushed conversations passed between the staff. They weren't just talking about Regina. They were also discussing our channel. "Surprised you haven't liked and subscribed yet? Just kidding, but if you haven't, you really should, because we have so many more stories to share with you. Now, back to the story." 15 minutes later, a tall man in a tailored suit entered the lobby, accompanied by 2 other individuals. He approached Regina with a broad smile. "Miss Carter, I apologize for the inconvenience. We'll get this sorted right away." The room fell silent as everyone watched the interaction unfold. Mr. Jenkins turned pale. "Wait," he stammered, "Miss Carter?" The man in the suit turned to Mr. Jenkins. "Yes, this is Regina Carter, the owner of the Grand Cascade Hotel." The shock on Emily and Mr. Jenkins' faces was almost comical. Emily's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. I didn't know," she whispered. Regina's smile finally faded, replaced by a quiet look of determination. "That much is clear," she said. "And that's exactly why I chose to come in anonymously, to see how guests are treated when you think no one is watching." Turning to the man in the suit, she said, "Please pull the staff's training records. I want a full review of their conduct and adherence to company policies." She then turned back to Emily and Mr. Jenkins, her voice firm. "Your behavior today was unacceptable, not just to me, but to any guest who walks through these doors. This is not the kind of establishment I intend to run." Mr. Jenkins stammered an apology, but Regina raised her hand, signaling him to stop. "Save it. Actions speak louder than words. Consider this your formal notice. Effective immediately, you're both relieved of your duties." Emily's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't protest. Mr. Jenkins, on the other hand, tried to argue. "You can't just fire me without." "I actually can," Regina interrupted. "And I just did." The man in the suit signaled to the security guard, who escorted the now former employees out of the building. Regina turned back to the gathered guests, her demeanor softening. "To everyone here, I apologize for what you've witnessed today," she said. "This is not the experience we want for our guests. Please know that changes are being made to ensure everyone feels welcome and respected." The crowd erupted into applause, and several guests approached Regina to shake her hand. One woman said, "Thank you for standing up for what's right. It's inspiring to see someone take action." In the following weeks, Regina implemented a complete overhaul of the hotel's policies and staff training programs. She held workshops on cultural sensitivity, customer service, and conflict resolution. The changes didn't happen overnight, but slowly, the Grand Cascade Hotel began to gain a reputation for excellence, not just in its amenities, but in the way it treated every guest who walked through its doors. Regina's story quickly went viral, with headlines praising her for standing against discrimination. But for Regina, it wasn't about the publicity. It was about setting a standard and proving that everyone deserves respect, no matter how they look or where they come from. In the end, Regina's quiet determination transformed the Grand Cascade Hotel into a shining example of hospitality done right. And every time she walked through the lobby, she was greeted with warmth, respect, and gratitude, a testament to the power of leading by example. What would you do if you were in Regina's shoes? Let us know in the comments below.